Okay, I've set this up by taping a piece of paper to the wall. And this will be an exercise in doing shadows and also taking something that's fairly complicated and breaking it into smaller and smaller bits in order to deal with it. So I'm going to start by seeing the paper is at a slight angle. So I'm going to see what the angle is the same way we did with the cube. So I'm comparing it to a straight horizontal line. So in my case, paper is tipped like this, and I'm going to do it as a complete shape initially, so as if there are no creases and that kind of stuff in it. And then I'm going to start chipping away, looking at the edge. This side folds down. Comes in slightly. Up. There's a crease. And I'm going to put the major folds in first. Like there's a crease that comes right here. And then from that, we got another crease that comes to about here. This side pulls in and swings back out. So I've got the major creases mapped out. Get rid of all the stuff I don't need. And I'm going to post a photo of the paper that I'm using with this right below it so you'll be able to see it. So now that I've got the major folds in place, I'm going to start breaking it into smaller sections. So this comes up. So it's like following a map. So again, taking it smaller and smaller bits. There's like a crease here with cast shadow that comes around. And a crease that comes up. So one fold is going to lead you into others. So you should have isolated folds in it. And then once I get it kind of mapped out with these major folds, then I'm going to start using the shadows to refine it. And you'll see it becomes a series of sharp and soft tones. Like in some places, the shadows will get really intense. Others, as that fold is not as sharp, you'll see it soften. You can finish these with any material you'd like. You can actually render the shadows or use some method of softening it using a tortillon, rubbing stick, tissue, that kind of thing. So I'm using a combination of tissues, the tortillon, and then going back, adding tone. And I've done it, like I mapped it out quite a bit darker than what you guys will. can see this shadow gets a little darker right as it goes into that fold. This becomes a deeper shadow along here. I'm actually going to use the cast shadow on that cast on the wall, kind of show this edge up. So just going back and forth. Go back with the eraser. Pull up this sharp little edge here. When you're done, you want it to be all about the various values changes, not about line. So all of those lines I put in initially are going to disappear. And I'll have these really subtle, well, you will have these really subtle shifts. I'm doing this, I'm going to try to keep this one under 15 minutes so I don't have to split it on YouTube. But I'm just going to then, after I've mapped it out, I'm just going to go in and take one area at a time and work my way right through it with the shadows. Let it get, don't be too afraid to let it get kind of complicated. Like part of the assessment on this is how much you challenge yourself in terms of how complicated of a fold and creases you put, how complicated the folds and creases are in your paper. So I think you get the idea here. And this is, you know, then it becomes just kind of that tedious following it edge to edge. The benefit of you being able to work on these outside of class instead of in the studio is that you can kind of come back to it. Like do some of it, get to the point where you're kind of tired of working on it, and then come back a little later and do more. If you have any questions, email me. You will have a week on these. And when you're doing the shadows, I picked an area that had more going on in it, so I could work on it first. But when you're doing these, you will want to, if you're right-handed, you will want to work from left to right, and if you're left-handed, you will want to go the opposite direction. So